Come on in, join us here on the studio stage for the first round of talks for our new format that we call NEOS in Action. As most of you said, you've been coming to NEOS conference for a couple of times now, only a few first-timers. You probably know that we're always looking for ways to showcase the NEOS Award nominees, and that we've been trying to improve that over the years. So this year we came up with a new format. We call it NEOS in Action, and the first two presentations we are going to see today. The first one will be from Karen Funk from Marktplatz, and she's going to talk about their project, Website Builder The Base. And I'm very much looking forward to that. So please welcome on stage Karen Funk.
Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting us, for inviting me to speak here a little bit about our project, The Base. I'm here with my colleague Benjamin, sitting over there. Wave, please. Yeah, from Marktplatz Design and Software, a company situated in the very beautiful city of Lüneburg in the north of Germany. Like was just said, I'm a first-timer at the NEOS conference overall, and it's also my first time speaking at a conference. Benjamin is a veteran of NEOS conference. Fifth time. Yeah. So this is the first time for me. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm very excited to present our project to you, to the people in the room who just heard the previous talk. I don't have any fun facts about me like woodworking, unfortunately. But one thing that came to mind was I was talking to my boyfriend on the phone yesterday while preparing the talk, and he asked me whether I have colored pens to prepare my note cards. He's in the manual trade, and I said, no, I have it on my phone, and he didn't like that. And he thought that was risky. So if my phone stopped working, or I scroll the wrong way, or the screen turns off, I would hate to tell him that he was right, so I hope this works out. Yeah, so thanks again, so let's dive in. We developed a project we called The Base in cooperation with Pines Multimedia, an agency situated in Hamburg, who have worked with the Klosterfrau healthcare group for many, many years. So they were the perfect partner for this. So we managed the technical side of things, basically, and they managed the design and the editing mostly. So Klosterfrau Healthcare Group, they have around 70 websites, 30-plus brands with over 200 products. So we thought, how could we make this more manageable? And we thought we would try to achieve the goal and present ourselves with the challenge of creating one unified code base. Because we used to have individual installations for these websites, individual NEOS installations with different NEOS versions, different package versions, different module versions, and maintaining that just became a hardship for us on the technical side, but also for the designers and the editors, of course. And any attempts at updating or trying to optimize was basically just putting a Band-Aid on the larger issue. So what is the base? It's our chance at providing consistency to developers and editors alike, to, of course, make Klosterfrau's marketing agency happy with improved performance and search engine optimization, and to make the sites easier to maintain for us with a centralized updating mechanism, and to scale to and cater to the smaller brands and the larger brands, which Klosterfrau has, and of course provides quick security updates, fixes, if necessary, in one global rollout. So already we are much faster at setting up and launching the brand sites. And the sites are much more cost efficient for Klosterfrau, which is always important. And we have central configurations and modules that can be used across all sites, that are the same across all sites, with different variants, and can, of course, be expanded upon in terms of sustainability and longevity. So why did we use NEOS for this? Obviously, to incorporate our own expertise and the expertise of Pines Multimedia, but also to build upon the existent network and the existing system of NEOS sites in its different versions, and also the occasional old WordPress site that Klosterfrau has that we have now swapped to NEOS sites as well. But of course, for NEOS, advantages like scalability, content modeling, for the framework, for the fact that it's open source, and of course for the inspector, which is at the heart of the base. I will come back to this in a little bit. So let me show you how this works. Here we have some example brands. The global company site, klosterfrau.com. We have a German brand, we have an Austrian brand, and we have a Swiss brand. They all have the same base, pun very much intended, with the same modules, same variables, but they still look quite different. So we don't have to give up the brand identity, the individuality of each brand in order to unify the code base. And that was the main factor here. So I just said the inspector is at the heart of this project. Now, in this website builder, it has around 250 CSS variables, spanning colors, typography, spacing, buttons, animations, and more. And so now it's possible for the designer to create the website in NEOS directly from scratch without an added step of Adobe XD or a program like Figma if they want to skip this step. And editors don't have to request design changes anymore, they can just make them. So in the homepage configuration, we have, first of all, the fonts. The editors can choose from system fonts, they can choose from licensed fonts, from free-to-use Google fonts that are pre-installed, depending on the brand identity. It's all already right there. The same goes for colors, for the UI elements, like buttons and links, the hover effects, backgrounds, and more. So the corporate design is still there. So we still have the individuality, we still have the corporate design can still be catered to because the corporate design often hasn't changed. In the same place, editors can also choose border radius per element type, they can choose animation types, they can use, choose spacing options for margins, paddings, page folds, button variants, headline variants. All of this is in the same place and on the homepage configuration. And of course, we have this for images as well. So can be chosen per breakpoint, with automatic resizing, with auto conversion to a file format that performs better. And there are, of course, options for search engine optimization and accessibility features as well, which is very important. So beyond this setup of the inspector, we have also established a central content hub. This central content hub shares product information across all sites. So this can be images, it's brand logos, it's icons, legal notices, privacy policy text, all the reused content that is used by editors across all sites is in one central hub. It's much more manageable for the editor to change content in one place instead of on 70 sites in the worst case. So it makes it easier for the editors to maintain these elements. And if lawyers have legal change requests, which happens for Klosterfrau occasionally, this can be updated all at once. So what this has brought us is a system that allows for quick and central updates, and is consistent across all its modules. So you recognize it. If you go into a different brand site, it's always the same configuration. Includes many configuration options without unnecessary code. So no individual modules anymore, but flexible variants. And it can already be set up pre-designed process. So our main takeaways from this are that it works to have one code base, but still maintain the individuality of brands, which was the key important factor. That the few flexible modules we have with variants are better than custom modules that have to be maintained. That we wanted to create a system that empowers the editor and not just the developer, and we achieved this. And that the global rollouts make for much easier maintenance if we can just update all at once. So thank you for listening, and I hope this has given you just a very, very brief insight into this project and why it's special for us. And if you have any questions, feel free. If they are very technical, I might have to hand off to my colleague, but yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Karen, and congratulations on your first talk on this stage. That was great. There are a few questions, and we do have some time, so I will relay them to you. With all these options that the editors have, does the site break often due to someone misconfiguring something?
Actually, no, because the important factor here is that the editor is not the customer, it's not the client in this case, but our partner agency. So the editors are also designers. They understand the system. They have created the system with us together, so they understand it. They know what they're doing. And so it's only authorized editors, basically. It's not a customer, it's not the client who does the configuration. So that helps a lot.
Okay. There's another question. Do you know what the biggest challenge was that you were able to solve with Neos? And that's why Neos was the perfect choice for this project?
Ooh, good question.
Or maybe if you know, you can jump in.
Yeah.
The overall package is just a great CMS, right?
The modularity helps, so that is that does help. But also the expertise in the system from not just us, but also our partner.
Do you know which Neos version it's running on? It's 8 or 9?
It's 8. It's 8.3.
All right. So you're looking forward to a nice update sometime.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you know how long it takes for someone to create a new component and make sure it works with the design system across all the many different pages and all the options?
So we have predetermined components. That was the basis for a list that our partner, they designed the components and the variants and defined, okay, we need this node type, this node type, this node type. So we don't really create new components. It's basically remixing the existing ones.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
And is there something special you do to ensure that updates you do work across all the websites and there's no bugs hidden in, page number 52 on the second menu somewhere?
We did come across this, that we rolled something out for sites and then tested them out, and it didn't. In one use case, it didn't work out. It threw a bug, but we do have test stages as well. And when we recently rolled out, I say recently, but when we rolled out the Content Hub, because that was such a huge part of it, we did it in increments of like 5 sites, not because it was easier for us, but because our partner had to go through the page and check and change everything and see that it works. So that's what we do sometimes, to do it in increments if it's a larger rollout.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you very much for showcasing this, and good luck for the NEOS Awards tonight.
Thank you.
To Marktplatz. And now, for the second talk in this round of NEOS in Action, it's my pleasure to welcome on the stage Michael Löw from Jung von Matek, Switzerland, and he's going to present the BAG. What does that stand for?
That's the Swiss Health Ministry. It's the Bundesamt für Gesundheit oder Bundesministerium für Gesundheit.
All right, so give a warm round of applause for Michael.
Regarding the naming, apparently it's tradition at our company to mess up the name of our clients. Stefan can tell a little story about that if you want to ask him about something being Bundesamt or not. Now, I can't tell you anything about this, unfortunately. I mean, I could do some PowerPoint karaoke, but you probably wouldn't like that. Which is fine, because I just realized that there is no slide on this that tells you my name. Hi, I'm Michael. I've been a dev at Jung von Matek for the past 3 years, I think. And there's my slide. Yes, so I actually got into this project a little after it had already started, but I've had my hands deep in the architectural part that I'm going to be talking about, so I somewhat know what I'm talking about. If I say wrong things, Stefan will probably correct me afterwards in a very detailed one-on-one reporting. Okay, what I want to tell you about is the Swiss Public Vaccination Information Platform. That's a handful. You can find this at impfen-schweiz.ch, and it's basically the central communication tool for the Swiss Health Ministry to communicate vaccination recommendations and vaccination plans. And now I need to figure out how this thing works. It does not, which is very, very sad, because I do have more slides, I promise. There we go. The story kind of starts sometime around early 2020. I don't know if anyone remembers what happened in the early months of 2020. We had a little issue with a little bug, let's call it that, that kind of turned the understanding of what vaccinations mean worldwide upside down. And that resulted in a lot of Swiss agencies trying to come up with ways to inform the public about vaccinations, and this led to a very fragmented landscape. So there is public entities, there is non-profit organizations, there's for-profit organizations, and all they do is try to inform you what you should be vaccinated against and when. And then there is the central Impfplan for the year that is provided by the Bundesamt, which is this lovely thing on the left. That's a 50-page PDF that tells you what vaccinations you should get. And we at Jung von Matek were tasked with sort of cleaning this thing up, because they wanted to find a uniform way to communicate vaccination information to the public. We started this in early 2024, I think, and it's still ongoing. It's still being worked on. It's still being developed, mostly because coming up with actual content for this thing is really difficult because there's a lot of things that needs to be taken into consideration because the information needs to be reliable, it needs to be as up-to-date as possible, and it needs to be trustworthy at all times because you, in this day and age, you cannot risk having even slightly outdated or wrong-ish information on your website regarding vaccinations. And so we took what was there before and we turned it into this. But how do we get from a very fractured landscape to a unified look like this that instills trust but still transports all the relevant information? Because this is not a simple campaign site. This is not, hey, we're going to put this up and it's going to be there for a couple of weeks and then we're going to take it down. This is meant to be the long-term health platform for the Swiss Public Ministry of Health. And it needs to be sustainable, it needs to be editable, and it needs to have a coherent visual language that transforms all those values. Also, because it's meant to be long-living, it needs to be easily editable. It needs to be manageable by staff that is not techies like us. It needs to be people that usually work in a ministry and have their other day-to-day jobs, but they need to be able to manage this information reliably. And so the challenge wasn't really just publishing content. It's not just putting out content. The challenge is the complexity of the content. So vaccines are very, very complicated. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of entities involved. There's a lot of information involved. And it needs to be treated as such. So it's not just about digitizing a PDF. And I would like to say this is the reason why we turned to Neos. This is the first time we heard about Neos, and we loved it so much that we used it. No, actually, we turned to Neos because we've been using it for years. We know how it works, and we know how to make it editor-friendly, and that's why we used it. But also, Neos happens to be really good at structuring complex content. And our main goal was to say, well, we have complexity. The stuff is complex, but it needs to be predictably complex. So it can't be all over the place. You need to know where you have to put the information in what way to make it available. And to make matters worse, maybe, or better for us because it was more work, this stuff is provided in 4 languages. It's provided in 2 language levels or reading comprehension levels because accessibility is mandated by law for public entities in Switzerland. So you need to make sure that your content is accessible. This means having like the stuff you know about, like ARIA tags and button descriptions and all that stuff, but it also needs to be provided in 2 different reading comprehension levels for each of those languages. And so what we ended up building is basically 4 different versions of everything. Because we have, for one, the general public. They get their information, like, I have a kid, she's 6, what vaccinations does she need? But then there is public healthcare providers or public healthcare professionals, and they run their general practice, and they need to know, okay, where can I find reliable information on vaccinations? And then there is the 2 reading levels. This is just a very basic example, but like, if this had more than 7 pixels, you could probably also read this. But like, there's a lot of text here, and there's very simple sentences here. This is what I was trying to transport. So there's multiple ways that we need to output the content that we allowed our editors to structure. And this also meant that modeling the domain, not just letting editors run wild, was very, very important. And this is by far the most complex part of the application. This is what this was all about. This is the vaccination plan. This is the entirety of the Swiss vaccination recommendation schedule. Still a great word. And what it does is it gives you all of the age groups that Swiss doctors think need certain vaccinations, all the vaccinations that you can get. There's combinated vaccines, there's annotations about that. And it was imperative that we got this right, because there could not be any misinformation there. There could not be any doubt about the information there. And so what we did was we didn't simply digitize a PDF. We could have just taken that document and, I don't know, transpiled it into NEOS content elements and called it a day. What we did was we actually went ahead and modeled the domain of how is this information structured. And it all starts out like at the base level, there is an illness, a very prominent illness you might have heard about. And based on those vaccinations, we came up with an added structure. And all of these things are somewhat edited separately, but they're all based on one another. And so you create entities, you reference stuff, you all know this from NEOS. You reference stuff and other stuff, and then that stuff references other stuff, and all of it kind of ends up together in one coherent piece of information that you can actually use. And in our case, this was, again, the basis was a vaccination. On top of the vaccination, you could create vaccines, because if you've ever been to a doctor, you don't get a single vaccination in one shot usually. There's multiples come together, but we needed to display this in the PDF thingy. So we needed to come up with vaccines. We needed to create data for certain age groups. That's what you saw in the basic plan. But there's also more groups. There's target groups, because our client also wanted to target, for example, pregnant women that need certain specific vaccinations that a non-pregnant man doesn't have to get. And from all of this data meshed together, we were able to automatically create plans for vaccination recommendations. That's the target group, like a pregnant woman, and the generalized vaccination plan. That is the overall goal that we wanted to achieve. And when we put this all together, we came up with this. So basically what you see on this slide is everything that you used to see in a 50-page PDF. It's got all, does this thing have a pointer? It does have a pointer. Love this. It's got all the vaccinations, those are like the single lines. It's got the combined vaccines, this is like a 5 shots in one combo bombo. This is just 2 pieces in one. There is interactive annotations. There is additional information on the type of vaccination that you're getting. There is further information, because we need to prove that we're reliable, or our client needs to prove that they're reliable. They need to prove that their information is right, and they need to prove that not by saying this is right, but by actually showing it. And so there is a lot of cross-linking and cross-referencing happening across multiple languages that all need to be right. So this ginormous, by the way, filterable table provides all this information. It generates smart columns, it generates smart rows, it does dynamic legends, it does all of this just based on the content structure that we defined in NEOS CMS. So in essence, and I think that's my 15 minutes, what we did was we did not digitize a PDF, because that would have been stupid. What we did was we built a platform that is capable of evolving, and a platform that is capable of instilling trust in the public that we are the single source of truth for vaccination information in Switzerland. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael. That was a really interesting project. I didn't see any questions yet in the app. Anyone want
That's
to
fine.
ask?
I'll be around for a couple more hours.
We do have some time. Anyone wants to ask a follow-up question to Michael?
I was wondering, what is I mean, probably there's still a different source of truth for all of this in the Bundesministerium for Gesundheit. Or is that
The source of truth is a committee of Swiss doctors that come up with a plan, and this plan is then finalized by the BAG, and they do maintain their own databases. So this is not the single piece that they maintain their information, but what they do is every piece of information that is changed in the recommendation is always visual in our platform. So this is the only public communication tool.
And there's a human step involved
Yes.
in transporting it?
Yes.
And then I do have a follow-up.
This is the type of thing that you do not let AI do on its own. No, it's the editing is done manually in NEOS.
It's a human API.
Yes. Her name is Jenny, and she's very nice.
Not AI.
No,
Okay.
I've met her.
Same question to you as I had for the other project. Is it a NEOS 8 project?
Yes, it is.
You're also looking very much forward to
I'm
upgrading.
very much looking forward to updating this because it solves some of the issues that we have with making sure that the content is consistent across dimensions. Because such a thing as aggregate properties did not exist in NEOS 8, which would have been awesome. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to updating this project.
So however tonight goes, next year when you've upgraded, we probably need a category for the most awesome NEOS 9 upgraded project to come around again. Okay, so good luck for tonight for this project. Thank you very much, Michel, for this showcase. And I'm not sure if I do have slides from the presenters.
I think I broke it. Oh, no.
I do? That's good. That's fine. We do have a lunch break now, but before you run off, we will do the drone photo again this year, 1:30. We will meet in front of the main entrance this year, and we are going to try to form a heart shape because we've done NEOS and 9, I think we've done all of that. So this year it's going to be a heart, but until then, enjoy your lunch break, and then we will see each other again at 2 p.m. Thank you very much.